Hello, my name is Olivia Blackman, and today I would like to share with you a funny story that happened to somebody close to me. So have you ever met or felt like one of those people that everything goes wrong for? Well, I was raised by one of these people, my dad. Disaster follows my dad wherever he goes. In fact, my brothers, sisters, and I have all been known to plead, "No, Mom, please don't let Dad take us to the dentist. Something will go wrong. It always does." Going to get our hair cut or going to the orthodontist could turn into a life or death situation if my dad was anywhere near the vicinity. For example, by mere coincidence, the anesthesia that was meant to be applied to your gum tissue would inadvertently be squirted into your eye or some other goofy mishap. Now, my dad never caused these occurrences to happen. Rather, his presence just provoked odd things to happen. So over the years, my dad has brought home many funny stories from trips, meetings with important people, or even just running what would otherwise be normal errands. Volumes could be filled with the numerous mishaps of my dad, but time permits me to only share one of these stories with you today. This one, and yes, it did happen, happened about 10 years ago. We were visiting my dad's parents in the small town of Hurtsboro, Alabama. My granddaddy's health had rapidly been declining, making him physically incapable of tending to chores that my grandmother couldn't do on her own. The rural community that they lived in did not have a garbage collection service, causing the inhabitants of the town to have to take their own garbage way far out of town to a dump. So my grandmother had just finished doing a major cleanup job at the old house, and she hadn't taken the trash off to the dump yet. So my dad volunteered, hoping to be of some help. So all of the trash had been collected into the bed of a 1965 Ford pickup truck. So Dad confidently boarded this truck, and he immediately noticed that it had automatic air conditioning. There was a gaping hole conveniently right underneath the gas pedal. And normally, air conditioning is a welcome relief to the Alabama summer heat. But this just happened to be in the middle of January, and it was the coldest winter that they had had in 50 years. Go figure. So my dad started the truck, but it didn't start up right away. But by the third try, it cranked right up. So he started off down the road at 50 miles per hour. Instantly, though, he had noticed that he had heard a rattling noise. So he looked up in the rearview mirror, or would have, but there wasn't one. So he looked over to the passenger side rearview mirror, but that one was also not existent. So scrambling, he was relieved to find that there was a rearview mirror on his side of the truck, despite the intense jiggling of the rearview mirror. So looking out of this wiggling mirror, he noticed that an orange sofa cushion from the back of the truck just flew right out of the back. So after stopping, he retrieved the orange sofa cushion and started off down the road, this time at 35 miles per hour. He hadn't been driving long when he had noticed that he was running out of gas, and he was quite sure that he had had a full tank just a minute ago, but reluctantly he stopped over at a gas station to fill her up. Well, when he tried to get out of the car, he noticed that there wasn't a door handle. So realizing that this was just a slight inconvenience, he decided he would just roll down the window and open the door from the outside. But there wasn't a handle for the window either. So scooting his 6-foot, 3-inch body to the passenger side, he had to roll down that window and open the door from the outside because there wasn't a door handle on that side either. So he filled up the car, got back in the car, and started off down the road. He had been going for about 30 minutes, and he was lost because grandmother's directions were a bit sketchy. But after about 30 minutes, he had seen that he was running out of gas again. Frustrated, he pulled over to another gas station to fill her up. So, scooting over the passenger side, rolling down the window, opening the door, he filled the truck up with gas, but this time, he decided he would go into the gas station and ask the attendants there if they knew where the dump was. The foreign lady at the counter couldn't speak English, and her brother didn't know where the dump was, so, more than just a little frustrated, my dad got back into the truck, took off down the road at 35 miles per hour, and got lost somewhere on a dirt road. And at this point in the story, I would like to mention that all of this happened before cell phones, or at least before my parents owned them. So after about 2 hours of my dad being gone, my grandmother called the dump service and asked if they had seen a man in a white Ford 1965 pickup truck. Well, he had replied that no, he hadn't seen anybody like that, but he would call if he had. Well, a few minutes later, the dump guy called back and said that there actually was a 65 pickup truck parked at the dump, but there was no driver in sight and there was no trash in the bed of the truck. Well, obviously, we were confused and more than just a little worried. But in the meantime, my dad was lost on the dirt road, and he decided to just backtrack because he was lost, and he wanted to find his way back to civilization. So he made a U-turn and causing the truck to go into a pothole. But with this jolt, the steering wheel popped out of its holder. So my dad, quickly put the steering wheel back into place, and with much anxiety, just decided to head home. Looking again through his jiggling rearview mirror on the side of the truck, he noticed that the orange sofa cushion flew back out of the truck. Well, rationalizing that at this point it would be better to be pulled over by a cop for littering than to continue on being lost all alone, he began to pick up speed, and in other words, he didn't go back for the sofa cushion. So somehow, 4 hours later, my dad made it back home. Hanging up on the police and telling the fire department, never mind, we all ran out to see my dad. He came inside shivering, wearing my grandmother's gardening gloves, and we all looked outside, and we could see that all of the trash was still in the dump truck after 4 hours of him being gone, except there was not a sofa cushion in the back. So when we asked him about it, he didn't want to talk about it. He just rolled his eyes, trudged on into the kitchen for some aspirin and for some cocoa. So, I've told you this story as an encouragement for those days when everything seems to be going wrong. When you find yourself in an odd situation, remember, it could always be worse. You could be wearing your grandmother's gardening gloves. You could be lost, unable to find help because nobody speaks English. Or you could buy 3 full tanks of gas for a Ford pickup to go nowhere. The good days are great, and the bad days always give us something to laugh about. Keep smiling. Thank you.